You've probably been told that if you're just nice enough, patient enough, or forgiving enough, a narcissist will finally see your worth. But let me tell you the truth. Being nice will never change a narcissist. In fact, the more kindness you give, the more power they take. They don't see your heart. They see an opportunity to control it. And yet, there's one thing that terrifies them. One thing they cannot manipulate or destroy. The power of the chosen one. This power doesn't come from people-pleasing. It comes from strength, boundaries, and a light so bright it exposes everything they try to hide. Today, I'm going to reveal why narcissists crumble when the chosen one finally stops being nice, and what happens when you step into your true power. Stay with me until the very end, because what I'm about to share might just flip the way you see every toxic relationship you've ever been in. And before we begin, drop a comment below if you've ever tried being too nice to someone who only used you. You'll be shocked how many others have lived the same story. The hard truth is not always the one we want to hear, but it's often the one we need most. For so long, many of us have been told that kindness conquers all, that if you give enough love, enough patience, enough forgiveness, eventually even the coldest heart will soften. And while that may be true for a broken person who still has empathy, it is not true for a narcissist. Being nice will never change them. It will never melt their walls. It will never awaken guilt, and it will never inspire them to treat you better. In fact, the opposite is true. Your niceness, your patience, your compassion, it only feeds their ego. It becomes fuel for their sense of superiority. It convinces them that no matter how cruel they are, no matter how many times they cross the line, you will stay. This is the hard truth that so many people struggle to accept. Narcissists do not interpret kindness the way normal, empathetic people do. To you, kindness is love. To them, kindness is weakness. Every time you forgive them, they don't feel grateful. They feel powerful. Every time you show compassion, they don't feel closer. They feel in control. Every time you choose patience over anger, they don't admire you. They exploit you. This is why being nice never works. Instead of inspiring them to change, it teaches them that they never need to. Think about it. A narcissist thrives on dominance. They thrive on control. They thrive on the idea that they can do whatever they want and you will still be there. And what does being endlessly nice show them? It shows them you're predictable. It shows them you're pliable. It shows them that your heart can be manipulated, bent, and used against you. They don't see your niceness as love. They see it as permission. Permission to keep hurting you. Permission to keep lying to you. Permission to keep taking without ever giving back. It's painful to admit this, because deep down many of us hold on to the hope that if we just love harder, the narcissist will finally see our worth. But that's not how it works. Narcissists don't want to see your worth. They want to drain it. They want to feed off it. And they will keep doing it as long as you let them. When you respond with kindness to their cruelty, when you offer patience to their arrogance, when you meet their betrayal with forgiveness, they don't think, "Wow, I'm lucky to have this person." They think, "I can do it again, and they'll still stay." That is the hard truth. And this is where the shift happens. Because the only thing that changes a narcissist is not your kindness, it's your strength. Not the softness of your words, but the firmness of your boundaries. Not your willingness to forgive, but your refusal to be mistreated. A narcissist doesn't fear losing your kindness. They fear losing your compliance. They fear losing control. They fear the moment you stop feeding their ego and start feeding your own spirit instead. When you step into this realization, something powerful begins to shift inside of you. You realize that being nice is not the answer. You realize that protecting your peace, your heart, your dignity, matters more than keeping their approval. You realized that every time you gave them another chance, every time you stayed silent to avoid conflict, every time you accepted less than you deserved, you weren't being noble. You were feeding their ego. And now you begin to see the truth. You begin to see that being too nice is exactly what kept you stuck. But here's the beauty. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand that your niceness is not changing them, you stop expecting it to. And that's when your real power comes alive. Because now, instead of trying to fix them, you start protecting yourself. Instead of pouring love into someone who treats it like a bottomless pit, you start pouring that love back into yourself. Instead of being endlessly nice to someone who only takes, you begin to practice discernment, deciding who actually deserves your kindness and who only abuses it. This shift is not easy. It feels uncomfortable at first because you've been trained to believe that being nice is the highest virtue. You've been conditioned to think that walking away, setting boundaries, saying no, makes you cold or unkind. But that's another lie the narcissist wants you to believe. They want you to think that pulling back your kindness makes you the bad one. They want you to feel guilty for protecting yourself, because guilt keeps you in their control. The truth is, protecting yourself is not cruelty. Setting boundaries is not cruelty. Saying enough is not cruelty. It is power. It is wisdom. It is the very thing that frees you from the narcissist's grip. And once you claim that power, everything changes. The narcissist may rage. They may accuse you. They may try every trick they know to pull you back into the cycle. But what they cannot handle, what terrifies them the most, is when you no longer respond with niceness. When you no longer try to prove your love. When you no longer try to win their approval. Because in that moment, they lose control. And without control, a narcissist is powerless. Oh, the hard truth stands. Being nice won't change a narcissist. It only feeds their ego. It only deepens their grip. It only convinces them they can keep taking without giving. But your strength, your clarity, your refusal to play their game, that is what changes everything. That is what breaks the cycle. That is what protects your soul. And in the end, you realize something even more powerful. You realize that your niceness was never wasted. It taught you who you are. It showed you the depth of your heart, the purity of your spirit, the extent of your patience. Niceness is often celebrated as one of the greatest strengths a person can have. We grow up being told to be kind, to forgive, to turn the other cheek. And for most relationships, this is true. Kindness builds bridges. It heals wounds. It deepens connections. But in the twisted world of a narcissist, kindness does not mean love. It does not mean care. And it certainly does not mean respect. To them, kindness is weakness. It is a tool, a crack in the armor, a sign that you can be bent and manipulated to their will. This is why niceness backfires. Because every time you extend your kindness, they twist it into confirmation that they still have control. If you forgive their lies, they don't feel guilty. They feel clever. If you overlook their cruelty, they don't feel grateful. They feel untouchable. If you shower them with love after they've hurt you, they don't see devotion. They see dependency. Your niceness doesn't make them treat you better. It makes them believe you'll tolerate worse. The narcissist's mind is wired differently. Where a healthy person sees kindness as an invitation to grow closer, the narcissist sees it as an open door to exploit further. They are not inspired by your patience. They are emboldened by it. They are not softened by your forgiveness. They are hardened by it. They learn that no matter how much damage they cause, you will always repair it with your niceness, and that lesson only makes them push further. The backfire effect is devastating because it creates a cycle. You keep giving more niceness, hoping one day it will finally break through to them, hoping they'll wake up and realize how much you love them. But instead, the more nice you become, the more their respect for you disappears. In their mind, if you were truly strong, you wouldn't put up with their behavior. If you were truly valuable, you wouldn't let yourself be treated that way. And so, in a cruel twist, the very thing you hoped would save the relationship, your kindness, becomes the thing that convinces them they can keep mistreating you. This is the twisted reality of a narcissist's world. Kindness is not seen as love. It is seen as leverage. Niceness is not seen as a gift. It is seen as weakness. And once they recognize that weakness, they will use it over and over again until you have nothing left to give. The only way to stop the backfire is to shift from niceness to strength. Strength does not mean cruelty. Strength does not mean shutting off your heart. It simply means refusing to let your kindness be exploited. It means setting boundaries, standing firm, and showing that while you may be kind, you are not weak. Because in the end, the narcissist cannot respect your niceness, but they will be forced to reckon with your strength. Every narcissist wears a mask. On the outside, they present themselves as charming, confident, even admirable. They want the world to see them as successful, loving, and in control. But behind that mask lies something much darker. Fear, insecurity, emptiness, and a desperate hunger for validation. The mask is their survival tool, their way of hiding the brokenness they cannot face. And here's where your niceness comes in. Every act of kindness you show them doesn't just feed their ego. It strengthens that mask. It makes the mask shine brighter, making them look even more untouchable to the outside world. Think about it. When they mistreat you, but you keep responding with patience, it allows them to keep their mask firmly in place. To others, it looks like they must be a good person. After all, someone as kind and forgiving as you wouldn't stay with them if they weren't worth it, right? Your niceness becomes part of their disguise. It becomes proof, not that they are cruel and manipulative, but that they must be wonderful because you continue to tolerate and even defend them. This is how the mask grows stronger. Your compassion covers their cruelty. Your forgiveness hides their betrayals. Your patience makes excuses for their outbursts. And the more you do it, the harder it becomes for anyone else to see the truth. The mask becomes nearly unbreakable, and you end up feeling even more isolated. Because now, if you try to expose what they're really like behind closed doors, people may not believe you. They see the mask. They see the performance. And they see your niceness as evidence that the mask must be real. This is one of the cruelest dynamics of dealing with a narcissist. Your own good heart becomes the very thing that protects their lies. Without meaning to, you help them maintain their image, not just in front of others, but in front of themselves. Because remember, narcissists can't face their own brokenness. They need the mask to survive. And your niceness, your loyalty, your willingness to forgive becomes the glue that keeps it from cracking. But here's the dangerous part. The stronger the mask, the weaker you begin to feel. The more untouchable they look, the more invisible you feel. You start to believe their illusion, that maybe you are the problem. Maybe they really are perfect, and you're just too sensitive. That's the trap of the mask. It not only fools the outside world, it slowly convinces you to doubt your own reality. The only way to weaken the mask is to stop feeding it. Stop covering their behavior with niceness. Stop protecting their image at the expense of your truth. Because every time you choose honesty over silence, strength over people-pleasing, and boundaries over blind forgiveness, the mask begins to crack. And when it cracks, the truth can finally shine through, not just for others to see, but for you to finally believe. Every narcissist plays a game, and the rules are always tilted in their favor. It's not a game of love, not a game of partnership, not even a game of respect. It is a game of control. To them, relationships are not about connection. They are about domination. They thrive when they know they can push your limits, break your trust, and still pull you back in again and again. And the way they keep winning is by manipulating your emotions and taking advantage of your endless willingness to give second chances. The game usually begins with charm. They draw you in with affection, attention, and flattery. They convince you that you've met someone extraordinary, someone who sees you, someone who values you. But once they feel secure that you're hooked, the mask slips and the game begins. Slowly, they test your boundaries. They may dismiss your feelings, break small promises, or disrespect you in subtle ways. And when you react, they manipulate you, gaslighting, denying, or flipping the blame back onto you. This is how they train you to doubt yourself. But here's the clever part of their game. Just when you're ready to walk away, they switch tactics. Suddenly, they're apologetic. They beg for forgiveness. They may shower you with affection, act like they've changed, or remind you of the good times you once shared. And because you are empathetic, compassionate, and hopeful, you give them another chance. That's the move they've been waiting for. Because the truth is, the narcissist never feared losing you. They only feared losing control over you. And your forgiveness restores that control. This cycle can go on for years. Hurt, manipulation, forgiveness. Cruelty, apology, reconciliation. It's a cycle that leaves you drained, confused, and questioning your own worth, while the narcissist only grows stronger in their ability to keep you tied to the game. They don't change because they don't have to. Why would they? When every mistake is erased by your willingness to give them another chance. In their mind, endless chances mean endless power. The most dangerous part of this game is that it becomes predictable. They know exactly how far they can push you before reeling you back in. They know which words will make you hesitate, which tears will soften your heart, and which promises will silence your anger. And each time you play along, each time you forgive, the game resets, and they win again. But here's the truth. The only way to stop the narcissist's game is to step out of it completely. The moment you refuse to play, the moment you refuse to give yet another second chance, their control begins to crumble. Because without your participation, the game cannot exist. The narcissist doesn't thrive on love. They thrive on your willingness to stay in the cycle. Take that away, and suddenly they're powerless. The power of the chosen one is unlike anything a narcissist can predict or control. It is not rooted in niceness, in pleasing others, or in endlessly forgiving those who do not deserve it. That is a common misconception many of us carry. That strength comes from being kind. That love is proven by tolerance. But the truth is, real strength lies in standing firm, in protecting your peace, in setting boundaries that no one, not even a narcissist, can cross. The chosen one knows that their power is not measured by how much they give to others, but by how fiercely they guard their own spirit. Boundaries are not walls built out of fear. They are lines drawn with clarity and self-respect. They tell the world, and the narcissist, that your time, your energy, and your heart are not up for grabs. When you enforce these limits, you are no longer a participant in their manipulative games. You are no longer a pawn to be moved at their will. Instead, you become a force they cannot touch, a light they cannot dim. And this is terrifying to a narcissist, because their entire sense of control depends on your compliance. Imagine for a moment how different it feels to respond with boundaries instead of niceness. Instead of excusing their behavior, you assert your truth. Instead of tolerating disrespect, you step back. Instead of giving endless chances, you decide when enough is enough. That clarity, that unshakable resolve, is the power of the chosen one. It doesn't intimidate people who are grounded in love, but it terrifies those who thrive on manipulation, because it removes their leverage. They no longer have access to your emotions, They no longer hold sway over your decisions, and they no longer define your sense of worth. This power is quiet, yet undeniable. It doesn't shout or demand attention. It simply exists, radiating from your confidence and self-respect. The narcissist can try to charm, threaten, or guilt you, but when you stand firm, nothing they do can break you. And in that stance, you reclaim everything they tried to steal: your dignity, your peace, and your freedom. Being strong doesn't mean being harsh. Being firm doesn't mean being unkind. It simply means recognizing that your heart is precious and refusing to hand it over to someone who will exploit it. That is the essence of the chosen one's power. The knowledge that strength lies in self-respect, boundaries, and unwavering commitment to your own well-being. The moment you embrace this truth, the narcissist's hold over you begins to fade, because they can no longer feed off your energy. Their games lose their grip, their manipulation falters, and you step fully into your own light. In the end, your power isn't in how nice you are. It's in how strong you become, how clearly you draw the line, and how unshakably you honor yourself. That is the chosen one's power, and it is the one thing a narcissist can never conquer. Boundaries are not just rules. They are sacred lines drawn around your heart, your mind, and your life. For the chosen one, they are not negotiable, and they are not temporary. They are the ultimate form of self-respect, a declaration that your peace, your dignity, and your well-being are not up for debate. The narcissist, however, sees boundaries as challenges, as obstacles to bypass, or worse, as weaknesses to exploit. But the chosen one knows that boundaries are the invisible armor no one can break, and that enforcing them is the single most powerful way to protect yourself from manipulation, control, and emotional abuse. When a narcissist encounters a boundary, they may react with anger, guilt-tripping, or charm. They will try every tactic to see if they can still bend you. But true boundaries are not flexible. They are not based on fear or shame. They are anchored in the certainty that your value is inherent, that your heart is not a playground for someone else's ego. The chosen one does not apologize for these limits, does not negotiate them, and does not justify them endlessly. They simply exist, firm and unwavering, like a lighthouse guiding a ship away from dangerous rocks. Boundaries also serve another sacred purpose. They reveal the truth. They show the narcissist exactly who you are, not someone they can control, but someone who will not compromise their self-respect for their approval. Every time you honor your boundaries, you send a message that your heart is not disposable. The narcissist may pretend it doesn't matter, may lash out, or may attempt manipulation, but deep down, they know these boundaries cannot be broken. That knowledge terrifies them, because their power relies on crossing lines that you allow to be crossed. For the chosen one, boundaries are also a compass. They help you navigate relationships, distinguishing between those who honor and value your heart and those who seek to drain it. Boundaries are the sacred markers that protect your energy, your emotions, and your life from being hijacked by someone who will never see your worth. They are not walls to isolate you. They are shields to preserve your freedom. They are not cruelty. They are self-respect in action. Every time you enforce a boundary, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You are no longer at the mercy of someone else's manipulation. You are no longer trapped in a cycle of giving and being exploited. You are no longer teaching the narcissist that your love is conditional on their behavior. Instead, you are showing them that your heart is priceless, and it will never be compromised for someone who cannot honor it. Boundaries are sacred because they are non-negotiable, because they protect the soul, and because they are the ultimate act of love for yourself. The chosen one understands this truth, and through these boundaries, no narcissist, no matter how clever, charming, or manipulative, can ever cross the line. The power of silence is one of the most underestimated weapons a chosen one can wield, and yet, it is also one of the most effective. In a world where many of us have been conditioned to respond, to explain, to defend, to justify, to forgive, choosing silence feels counterintuitive. We think that if we don't speak, we are weak, passive, or giving up. But when it comes to dealing with a narcissist, silence is not weakness, it is power. It is a force that cannot be manipulated, a presence that cannot be controlled, and a boundary that cannot be broken. Silence speaks louder than niceness, louder than arguments, louder than explanations, and most importantly, it starves the narcissist of what they crave most, attention. Narcissists thrive on attention. They crave it, they need it, they live for it. Whether it is praise, admiration, fear, or even outrage, they are fueled by the energy of others. They cannot tolerate being ignored because attention is their lifeblood. And yet, when the chosen one practices silence, something extraordinary happens. The narcissist suddenly loses their source of power. Their attempts to manipulate, provoke, or guilt you fall flat because there is no response to feed off of. They may escalate, lash out, or attempt dramatic tactics to draw you back in. But the truth is, silence cannot be bargained with, coerced, or diminished. It simply exists, steady and unshakable. Silence forces the narcissist to confront themselves in a way nothing else can. When you stop engaging, stop defending, stop reacting, you remove the mirror they hold up to the world and to themselves. They cannot perform their usual tricks because there is no audience to impress, no emotions to exploit, and no narrative to control. In their world, this is terrifying. They are used to being the center, to bending reality through charm or intimidation. Silence strips them of that power and leaves them exposed in ways they cannot tolerate. They may try to fill the void with more drama, more lies, more manipulation, but the chosen one remains steadfast, knowing that this silence is not emptiness, it is strength. Practicing silence is not about ignoring reality or pretending nothing has happened. It is not passive, it is intentional. It is a deliberate refusal to validate the narcissist's behavior with your emotional energy. Every word you speak to argue, justify, or explain is energy they can twist and use. Every reaction you give is a tool in their hands. Silence, on the other hand, is the ultimate form of self-preservation. It says, I will not feed your hunger. I will not participate in your games. I will not give my power away. And in that refusal, the narcissist loses control. Silence also gives you space. It creates a buffer between their chaos and your clarity. When you speak too much, you often react from emotion, anger, frustration, or hurt. But when you choose silence, you operate from strategy, from presence, from understanding. You are able to observe their patterns without becoming entangled in them. You see their tactics for what they are, not what they pretend to be. You see their lies, their manipulation, and their attempts to destabilize you, and you remain unshaken. Silence is not passive observation. It is an active reclamation of your inner peace. Furthermore, silence communicates boundaries without confrontation. Words can be twisted, intentions can be doubted, and explanations can be used against you. But silence is absolute. It is the ultimate statement. I will not engage in what harms me. It forces the narcissist to respect the limits you set, because without your response, they cannot operate. In essence, silence becomes your armor and your sword at the same time. The beauty of silence is that it is sustainable. You do not exhaust yourself by arguing or pleading. You do not drain your energy trying to force someone to see the truth. Instead, you conserve your power, allowing it to grow stronger as they flounder in the absence of your engagement. Over time, Silence creates an invisible force field, making the narcissist's games ineffective. They may continue to try, but without your participation, the cycle cannot continue. Silence also reveals who the narcissist truly is. When words are no longer available for them to manipulate, their actions speak for themselves. They are exposed in ways that niceness could never achieve. And for you, the chosen one, this clarity is priceless. You begin to see them not as someone you can change, but as someone whose behavior is their responsibility, not yours. You no longer bend, justify, or excuse. You no longer provide the energy that fuels their illusions. You simply exist, steady and unshakable, letting silence do the work words never could. In the end, the power of silence is not about isolation. It is about sovereignty. It is about reclaiming your time, your energy, and your peace. It is about showing the narcissist that your worth is not dependent on their approval, their drama, or their manipulation. It is about refusing to be a participant in their games. Silence speaks louder than niceness because it conveys strength without aggression, power without conflict, and freedom without explanation. And the moment you embrace it, you realize that the most formidable weapon against a narcissist is not confrontation, charm, or endless patience. It is the quiet, unwavering power of the chosen one, standing firm, saying nothing, and letting the silence do the talking. Every narcissist thrives in darkness, not just physical darkness, but emotional, moral, and spiritual darkness. They hide their true selves behind a carefully constructed mask, behind lies, charm, and manipulation, because their shadows, the parts of them that are insecure, cruel, or empty, cannot withstand the light. And that is why the chosen one's light is so dangerous to them. The light doesn't just illuminate the room, it exposes the truth. It reveals the hidden patterns, the deceit, the selfishness, and the manipulation that they desperately try to keep buried. The chosen one carries a light that comes from self-awareness, strength, and inner clarity. It is not loud or aggressive. It is steady, unwavering, and authentic. This light does not bend to the narcissist's whims. It does not excuse their behavior. It does not allow for manipulation. And because it is constant, it forces the narcissist to confront realities they have spent years hiding from others and often from themselves. When your light shines, the shadows in their life cannot stand. They twist, distort, and sometimes lash out, because darkness cannot exist comfortably in the presence of illumination. This light is not about confrontation or criticism. It is about living in alignment with your truth, and by doing so, naturally exposing the lies and illusions around you. The narcissist's control relies on confusion, distraction, and the misdirection of your perception. But the chosen one's light sees clearly. It observes patterns, recognizes manipulations, and refuses to be deceived. Every act of authenticity, every choice to uphold personal integrity, every moment of calm confidence adds to this light, gradually eroding the shadows the narcissist hides behind. The power of this light is subtle, yet undeniable. A narcissist can charm the world, manipulate the people around them, and craft an image of perfection. But when faced with someone whose presence is rooted in clarity and self-respect, their illusions crumble. They cannot control your perception. They cannot hide the cracks. The light doesn't argue or attack. It simply illuminates what already exists. And in the glow of the chosen one's light, the truth cannot be denied. This illumination also protects you. When you walk in your own light, you are no longer vulnerable to the darkness they try to impose. Lies lose their power, manipulations lose their grip, and emotional attacks bounce off, because your awareness keeps you grounded. You see their shadow for what it is, and you no longer confuse it with reality. you understand that their cruelty, their manipulation, and their illusions are reflections of their own darkness, not a measure of your worth. The narcissist may resist. They may rage, manipulate, or attempt to dim your light with gaslighting, guilt, or intimidation. But light cannot be destroyed by darkness. It can be obscured temporarily, but it always returns to its source. The chosen one's light is not dependent on the narcissist's behavior. It is born from within. It grows stronger every time you stand firm, uphold your boundaries, and act with clarity and authenticity. Ultimately, this light is transformative, not just for you, but for the world around you. While the narcissist remains trapped in the shadows, your light exposes what needs to be seen and protects what needs to be preserved. It is a shield, a weapon, and a guide. And the moment the narcissist realizes that their tricks, their manipulation, and their control no longer hide in the darkness, they face a force they cannot conquer. The chosen one's light reveals the shadows, and in doing so, creates a space where truth, clarity, and freedom can finally exist. Every narcissist relies on a carefully constructed illusion. They create a world where they are admired, respected, and untouchable. Their charm, their confidence, their manipulation, all of it serves to maintain this illusion. But the truth has a way of breaking through, and when it does, their carefully built world begins to crumble. The moment your truth and strength collide with their lies, the mask cracks, and everything they've hidden behind starts to fall apart. The mask a narcissist wears is fragile, despite how solid it seems. It only appears unshakable because they control the narrative so tightly. They manipulate perceptions, charm others, and silence criticism, all to keep the illusion intact. But it takes just one person who refuses to play by their rules, one person who refuses to be fooled, to disrupt that carefully maintained facade. That person is the chosen one. Your clarity, your courage, and your unwavering boundaries are like cracks in the mask. And once a few cracks appear, the structure begins to weaken. When the mask cracks, the narcissist often reacts with panic. They lash out, gaslight, and manipulate, trying to hide the cracks from the outside world. They may accuse you, attack your credibility, or attempt to redirect attention away from themselves. This is because the mask is their protection, their identity, and their power. If it fails, they feel exposed, vulnerable, and powerless. But your strength is not about aggression. It is about standing firm in your truth, holding your ground, and refusing to participate in the lies. Your authenticity becomes the force that shatters their illusion. The breaking of the mask is also a liberating moment for you. For years, you may have doubted your own perception, questioned your instincts, and wondered if you were overreacting. When the mask cracks, you see clearly. The deception becomes obvious. The manipulation becomes undeniable. You realize that the problem was never your heart, your kindness, or your actions. It was their lies and illusions. And in this clarity, your strength grows. You no longer need to explain, justify, or defend yourself. Your presence and your truth are enough to make the cracks appear and widen. It's important to understand that when the mask cracks, the narcissist cannot repair it easily. Every lie you expose, every boundary you uphold, every act of integrity you practice, adds to the damage. The mask may temporarily cover a small crack, but over time, it cannot withstand the weight of truth. And as it collapses, so too does the narcissist's power over you. Without their illusion, they are revealed for who they truly are. Not charming, not confident, not untouchable, but flawed, insecure, and powerless against the force of your strength. When the mask cracks, it also sends a message to others. People who were fooled, intimidated, or charmed by the narcissist can finally see the reality of their behavior. The illusion of control, perfection, and superiority falls away, and the truth stands in full clarity. Your courage, your boundaries, and your unwavering strength do more than protect you. They illuminate the cracks for everyone else to see. Ultimately, the breaking of the mask is a turning point. It is the moment where manipulation loses its power, deception is revealed, and the narcissist's hold begins to collapse. And in that moment, the chosen one stands firm, witnessing the collapse of the false world, free from their illusions, and strengthened by the truth. Narcissists fear the chosen one, not because you are aggressive or loud, not because you seek revenge, but because you cannot be controlled. Their entire world relies on manipulation, dominance, and compliance. They are accustomed to bending others to their will, twisting words, emotions, and actions like clay to create the reality they desire. But the chosen one is not clay. The chosen one is unshakable, self-aware, and grounded in a truth that no amount of charm, intimidation, or guilt can alter. This inability to control you terrifies them more than anything else, because control is their power, and without it, they are powerless. The fear narcissists feel is subtle at first. They notice when you no longer react the way they expect, when their insults, manipulation, or gaslighting fail to provoke the emotional responses they crave. Something inside them shifts. They sense a strength they cannot overpower, a calm they cannot disrupt, and a clarity they cannot obscure. They may try harder, escalating their tactics, attempting to regain the control they fear losing. But the chosen one does not respond out of fear, anger, or desperation. The chosen one responds from strength, boundaries, and unwavering self-respect. And that is a power they cannot comprehend. This fear is rooted in the narcissist's dependency on others' energy. They feed on compliance, on submission, on the willingness of others to play their games. When you refuse to participate, they experience it as a threat. Your silence, your boundaries, and your refusal to be manipulated become proof that their usual tactics no longer work. They fear the loss of control because it exposes them for what they truly are, imperfect, insecure, and utterly dependent on the manipulation of others to feel superior. The more the narcissist fears you, the more they may attempt to provoke or intimidate. They may rage, threaten, or try to undermine your confidence. This is their attempt to regain control, to make you bend, to make you doubt yourself. But the chosen one does not bend. You do not respond with panic, guilt, or justification. Instead, you stand firm in your truth, confident in your boundaries, and unwavering in your strength. Your presence alone communicates a reality they cannot dominate. This fear is also why narcissists will often attempt to discredit you, manipulate your reputation, or isolate you from others. They cannot allow you to shine freely because your strength exposes their weakness. Your independence is a mirror reflecting their insecurities, and that reflection terrifies them. The chosen one's power lies not in confrontation or retaliation, but in the quiet confidence that refuses to participate in their games. Ultimately, narcissists fear the chosen one because you are untouchable. Your mind, your heart, and your spirit cannot be bent to serve their desires. They may try, they may lash out, they may manipulate, but in the end, their fear is proof of your power. Every moment you refuse to be controlled, every boundary you uphold, every truth you live by, reinforces that fear. And that fear, silent yet palpable, is the acknowledgement of your unshakable strength, the strength that makes you the chosen one. Every journey with a narcissist reaches a moment of clarity, a moment where you realize that being nice has never worked and will never work. For years, you may have tried to please, to forgive, to accommodate, hoping that kindness would change them. But kindness does not change a narcissist. It only feeds their ego. strengthens their mask, and perpetuates the cycle of manipulation. The turning point comes when you understand that true power does not lie in niceness. It lies in strength, boundaries, and unwavering self-respect. The moment you shift from trying to please to standing firm, everything begins to change. This is the point where the narcissist's grip starts to falter. Their control has thrived on your willingness to bend, excuse, and tolerate. They have grown accustomed to your reactions, your forgiveness, and your endless patience. But when you stop playing by their rules and start living by your own, the cycle is broken. They suddenly realize that their tactics no longer work, that their threats, guilt, and manipulation fail to sway you. This is the power that they fear most, the power that comes from self-awareness and courage. The turning point is not a sudden explosion or a dramatic confrontation. It is often quiet, steady, and deliberate. You stop giving them the emotional fuel they crave. You enforce boundaries without apology. You act from clarity, not emotion. You refuse to participate in their games. And in that refusal, their grip loosens. Without your compliance, their control is meaningless. The narcissist may escalate their attempts to regain it. Anger, pleading, charm. But the chosen one remains firm. Power does not scream. It simply exists, unshakable and undeniable. This moment also brings clarity. You begin to see the relationship for what it truly is. A dynamic that does not serve you. A connection built on manipulation rather than respect. You recognize that every time you try to be nice, you were inadvertently reinforcing the very behavior you wanted to change. And in this realization, you reclaim your own energy, your time, your heart, and your peace are no longer available to be exploited. The turning point is about reclaiming what is inherently yours. It is important to note that power in this context is not aggression or retaliation. It is not about fighting fire with fire. It is about living with integrity, self-respect, and unwavering boundaries. It is about choosing yourself over the narcissist's control. And when you embody that power consistently, their influence begins to crumble. The mask weakens. The games fail. Their attempts to manipulate or provoke you fall flat. The turning point is transformational. It marks the moment when the cycle ends and the chosen one steps fully into their strength. The narcissist may continue to try, but they no longer have the leverage they once did. They can no longer bend your reality or dictate your emotions. Their grip is broken because your power is steady, unyielding, and rooted in truth. Ultimately, the turning point is about realizing that niceness is not a weapon, it is not a shield, and it is not a solution. Power, clarity, and boundaries are. Once you embrace the truth, the narcissist's hold dissolves, and freedom, dignity, and peace become yours. The moment you choose strength over niceness, everything changes. The journey with a narcissist is exhausting, confusing, and often painful. For years, many of us have believed that being nice, patient, and forgiving could change them. We've been told that if we just love harder, forgive faster, or bend a little more, they will finally see our worth, return our affection, or treat us with respect. But the truth is harsh. Being nice never works. Niceness is not a weapon, and it is not a shield. To a narcissist, it is weakness, fuel for their ego, and an opportunity to maintain control. No amount of patience or kindness can repair what they refuse to acknowledge, change, or take responsibility for. The final victory does not come from niceness. It comes from something far deeper, far stronger, and far more unshakable. The chosen one's strength, truth, and light. Strength is the foundation. It is the awareness that your heart, your mind, and your soul are yours to protect. It is the courage to set boundaries, the discipline to enforce them, and the resilience to stand firm when the narcissist tries to manipulate, charm, or intimidate you. True strength is quiet, steady, and unwavering. It does not react out of fear or anger. It does not seek revenge or validation. It simply exists unshakable, and in doing so, it dismantles the narcissist's control one boundary at a time. Truth is the second pillar of the final victory. Living in alignment with your truth means refusing to excuse lies, manipulation, or cruelty. It means acknowledging reality as it is, not as the narcissist pretends it to be. Every lie they tell, every distortion of facts, every attempt to rewrite history loses power the moment you hold onto your truth. The chosen one does not bend, rationalize, or compromise their reality to make the narcissist comfortable. They see clearly, speak their truth when necessary, and refuse to allow falsehoods to take root in their life. This clarity exposes the narcissist for what they are: not charming, not superior, not untouchable, but flawed, insecure, and dependent on controlling others to feel whole. And then there is light, the most powerful, transformative force of all. The chosen one's light is not physical. It is spiritual, emotional, and psychological. It radiates from self-awareness, authenticity, and unwavering integrity. Light cannot be faked, manipulated, or diminished by the narcissist. It illuminates their shadows, revealing insecurities, manipulations, and deceptions they desperately try to hide. Where darkness and control once thrived, the light now exposes cracks, weaknesses, and truths that cannot be ignored. The narcissist cannot abide in this light because it undermines their illusions, strips away their control, and renders their games powerless. The combination of strength, truth, and light is unstoppable. Strength protects, truth empowers, and light reveals. Together, they create a force that no narcissist can withstand. Their attempts at manipulation falter, their charm loses its hold, and their threats collapse against the unwavering presence of someone who refuses to be controlled. The cycle of abuse ends because the chosen one no longer participates in it. Their energy is no longer available to fuel the narcissist's ego. Their attention is no longer a tool for manipulation. Their boundaries are no longer negotiable. The final victory also comes with clarity. You no longer question your instincts, doubt your perception, or blame yourself for their behavior. You see clearly that the narcissist's issues are not your responsibility. You recognize that their cruelty, lies, and manipulation reflect their own brokenness, not your worth. And in that clarity, you reclaim your peace. You reclaim your time, your energy, and your life. The narcissist may continue their attempts, but they are powerless against someone who has stepped fully into their strength, truth, and light. This victory is not temporary or fragile. It is not dependent on external validation or outcomes. It is rooted in the understanding that you cannot be bent, coerced, or diminished by someone who thrives on controlling others. It is rooted in the unshakable knowledge of your value, the clarity of your reality, and the brilliance of your authenticity. The narcissist's games, once frightening and confusing, now appear trivial, impotent, and meaningless. The power dynamic has shifted completely, because the chosen one refuses to play by the rules of manipulation. The final victory is also empowering to witness. Every boundary upheld, every truth spoken, every moment of light maintained reinforces the fact that freedom is yours. It is a victory not only over the narcissist, but over the patterns that kept you trapped for so long. It is a triumph of self-respect over people-pleasing, clarity over confusion, and light over darkness. In this victory, you are no longer a participant in their world. You are the creator of your own. In the end, the chosen one's final victory is simple but profound. Niceness cannot change a narcissist, but strength, truth, and light always will. This is not about punishing them or seeking revenge. It is about reclaiming your life, your peace, and your soul. It is about standing firm, seeing clearly, and shining brightly. And once you do, there is nothing the narcissist can do to regain control. Their grip is gone, their illusions are exposed, and you are free. The cycle ends, the mask falls, and the chosen one emerges victorious, strong, clear, radiant, and unshakable. The truth is simple. Being nice will never change a narcissist. Kindness, patience, and forgiveness may feed their ego, but they cannot touch the chosen one's power. Your strength, your truth, and your light are far more formidable than any manipulation, charm, or control they attempt to wield. Every boundary you uphold, every moment of clarity you embrace, and every act of self-respect strips away their illusions and exposes their shadows. In refusing to participate in their games, you reclaim your energy, your peace, and your freedom. The final victory belongs not to those who bend, excuse, or plead, but to those who stand firm, unwavering, and radiant in their authenticity. Light exposes darkness. Truth dismantles lies. Strength breaks control. The narcissist may rage, manipulate, or escalate, but nothing can penetrate a chosen one who knows their worth and refuses to be controlled. This is more than survival. It is liberation.